My name is John Schmuck. I live at 1180 Rock Street. I'm president of the Quieter Cedar Hill Community Association. Our group has very strong feelings about this, both full and for, and we called a special meeting in January just so we could try to get in, see if we had a consensus and send a letter to you folks about our position on it. And we had the meeting. It was an over-above executive meeting, and the word notation I have about the meeting, it was somewhat rancorous. We were pretty well split right down the middle. Half the people wanted to amend the bylaw, and half the people wanted to repeal it and start all over again. So we did our best to look within our group and see what we all agreed on. So we came up with 9 particular points where we had consensus. We put it in this attached letter. I won't read it to you folks, it'll take too long. I will submit it to you though. The best thing we can all hope for though is to have a civil and respectful discussion on this. The best long-term decision of the EDPA, and you folks will be making that decision. We appreciate the fact that we have this meeting tonight. I think it's much improved over the last format. On an individual basis, my own property is under the EDPA. We're one of the 2,200. So we attended the town hall last fall and actually last spring, last June, I think. And the Senate representative attended our house and made some notations to correct the mapping. I do like to set up for you council members though. I can see you all together. That's great. I hope you repeat that for the municipal hall. And thanks again for the meeting.
Thank you. Okay, we have item number 21. And if I could get number 26 on deck, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and the people attending this meeting. I was witness to the last meeting that we had in November, and I was quite...
Just get your name and address?
I'm rambling, sorry.
Yeah.
Eleanor Smith. I live at 3421 Bonnier Place. We have the enjoyment living in the cul-de-sac backing onto Mount Tommy Park. I have been an interior designer and professional for over 25 years, went back in real estate in the last 4 years. My job is to work very clearly and transparently with my listings and with my buyers. And I experienced most recently an uncomfortable situation. I had to inquire about a property that I have listed, and I went into the council and found out into the city of Saanich. I had some questions on zoning and bylaws. It's my duty to find out the various areas of EDPL to alert people on that particular item. I also asked very gently with regard to some questions on this property. Often clients like to know if they can expand their property when they're selling, or it is an attribute for people coming in if they have growing families and such. When I started asking inquiries on zoning, we looked at maps, they looked at the GIS, they started to say, oh, this is kind of close to the EDPL area. Maybe I should change this. This is now not an EDPL property, but we should bring this forth. So all of a sudden I was on a red alert button because I felt that all of a sudden they're making a judgment call as to why this property is not EDPL. To me, it's important to share and be transparent in information. People's homes and properties are probably the largest asset that we have. It's respectful. I'm coming in with a perspective of real estate and values. In the recent past, I fought last year for clients to increase their assessments, and in some cases, clients have decreased. On our street, we have gone up some houses 114,000, some down, some equal. I presented to the panel in the past with regard to grid sheets and comparisons of houses and such, and one for my clients to increase to a reasonable amount because they were selling their properties. It's also important, I had a recent listing near Cedar Hill and Henderson, and it was North Oak Bay, but the people were wondering the nature walks and so forth, and also I alerted them about EDPL and said that I had checked it with North Oak Bay and Oak Bay Municipality and wasn't part of the area. It's really important to have clarity that people are investing and or selling the most largest asset. There's no consistency. When I asked information, I was very nervous because I didn't want to choose a red flag on this particular person. When you're asking zoning information and setbacks and such, I don't think they should make a judgment call then and there about why it's not EDPL. It just sent a very sensitive alert button. I respect everybody's situation, but I feel as a professional now and being in design and planning for 25 years prior to, working with developers and appreciation for sustainability and environmental areas, which I do truly love, and we love our walks at Mount Tommy, and also living by Arbutus Cove. but I'm also sensitive to the people that are listing their homes or selling their homes. It's probably the largest, if not the largest asset that they have. Representation and clarity and transparency is very important. I've heard from other people experiences going to the Saanich Municipal Hall to inquire on these aspects, and there's been inconsistency. I think that the bylaw has to go back and start all over again. There should be a clean canvas. We should have thought and process. When we worked in design and planning, we had proposals, studies, validity, facts and reasons why there were increases or decreases in buildings or homes. And I think that, there's no change order forms here. We had change order forms on site when we made changes in building a bookcase for libraries or whatever. There was always protocol, accountability, and a process in place to allow for the answer. I find inconsistencies and just free-for-all comments that, why shouldn't this should be bookmarked, was absolutely appalling and unacceptable. I just felt very sensitive, so I retreated and walked away, and I just thought about it. There are areas in this area in Saanich that have RS8, RS18, and RS10 near the Alberg Farm. Various variations in sizes, and when I checked on the overall plan, it had part of the Alberg Farm, and the gentleman that spoke earlier that didn't get to speak last time, about the canopies. It's very important to have clarity on the issues. I know that we have to respect the parks, but I think when it comes to urban areas and to people's homes, there has to be a more thoughtful process in place, and I really feel the bylaw has to be validated in all aspects of facts and findings. So I hope that there will be reconsideration of the bylaw starting all over again. We need to get back to the drawing board because the validity of value of real estate is all over the map, not only in assessments, but also in comments that I've experienced at the city. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite number 22, and if I could get number 27 on deck, please.
Karen Harper, 3430 Bon Air. I'm actually here to speak on behalf of my mother, Martha Carlson, who has given me a letter, which I will read, so I wish you to understand it is my mother's letter. And she lives at 3901 Tudor Avenue, which is on 10 Mile Point. To Mayor Atwell and Council, I have been a resident and ratepayer in Saanich since July 1st, 1967, at my current address. I was proud to be a resident of Saanich. I am no longer proud to be a resident of Saanich. I support the proposal of Citizens for a Responsible EDPA. If these proposals do not go forward and pass, I and my neighbors will not forget the names of the councillors who choose to represent staff and ignore the citizens who elected them. As a longtime resident of 10 Mile Point, Annapolis, once considered to be the back of beyond, I am insulted at a bylaw that assumes I am not capable nor interested in keeping my property in the condition that caused me to want to buy it in the first place. And that condition was not originally a sensitive biodiverse area either. It was originally blackberries and apple orchards that the prior first owner had to clear before I bought it. Now, the EDPA portion of my property is my front lawn, a bare lawn which Saanich dug up and ran sewer pipes through for the neighborhood when the sewer system came to 10 Mile Point. And that was fine with me to cooperate with that. However, it can hardly be a sensitive, diverse area. I find it appalling that in order to be removed from the EDPA, I would have to hire and pay for a biologist to state the obvious, that my front lawn is not a sensitive, biodiverse area, and with no guarantee that staff would accept the report that was provided. Indeed, based on others' experience, they would not accept the report. When I phoned Saanich for information about the EDPA after receiving my letter, as the staff person responsible advised me, no one has to worry, this is a 100-year plan. And the words "my dear" were in there as well. This is a terrible situation which Council has created and must be revised through this serious consideration of the proposal from Citizens for a Responsible EDPA. Thank you. And I would note, for those of you who know me, that obviously the apple does not fall far from the tree.
Thank you, Karen. I'd like to invite number 23 up to speak, and number 28 to come on deck.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I was hoping after the November meeting, which I stayed for most of, that I wouldn't have to be coming back for another meeting because...
Can we just get your name?
Yes, okay, I'm going to give you my name. It's
Lovely.
Ronald Netolitsky, 3821 Miramontes Drive. So I'm on the waterfront, so obviously I'm involved and impacted. I really resent City Council and their representatives for starting bylaws and properties that were affected didn't get proper notice that these bylaws were being discussed. That's the start of this mess, from my perspective. I look at what's gone on as a form of expropriation. I've heard this, that we've had other legal opinions. Well, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a geologist. And I've lived in my neck of the woods. I understand about biodiversity and I understand about the natural environment. But I really do resent people expropriating without fair compensation or notice. If you wanted to expropriate my land, that's fine. You have policies and ways of expropriating land. And I am protected under those things. A sneaky expropriation of my rights, I'm not protected. But I don't know if I wouldn't have a choice on this if it continues and doesn't get corrected. Like I have no real, even though I'm on the waterfront, when we bought it, it was lawn. There was no what I'd call invasive or endangered species or any other issues there. But I am now obviously required to go and spend my money to point out which is obviously obvious for anybody walking through. And I am just going to say that the choices for people like me is we will look at our legal aspects. And you know, I really resent having to start a legal case against this council or the city when I'm paying taxes, because I'm paying against myself. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I hope you guys get it right this time. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just noticing we don't have full seats here. We're inviting number 24 up to speak, and I'm hoping that we have number 25, number 26, number 27, number 28, and number 29 on deck, folks. Okay? So please, number 24, come on up. Do we have a number 24? Going. If you realize you're 24, come see me. Okay, please go ahead, number 25. And number 29 is coming down on deck. Perfect, thank you.
Good evening, your worship, councillors, friends and neighbours. My name is Carmel Thompson. I live at Maltby Lake at 4380 Prospect Lake Road. For those who are not familiar with Maltby Lake, it is a 21-acre body of potable drinking water at the headwaters of the 23 square kilometre Todd Creek watershed, which includes 5 other lakes, 29 wetlands, and dozens of streams that flow into Todd Creek as it winds its way through many privately owned properties exiting in the Saanich Inlets. We're all on the EDPA. In 2014, during the Land Conservancy's financial crises, a grassroots campaign to keep Maltby Lake wild galvanized our community. The fear was the property might fall to development. Many people, family, friends, neighbors, and complete strangers supported our purchasing the land instead of it going on the open market. Our interest in Maltby Lake is for it to remain in its natural state in perpetuity. We've signed an agreement to ensure that happens. For my husband Woody and I, who unfortunately had to go home early, who are passionate about green and natural spaces, and after seeking advice, we concluded buying the land was the only solution. It was the only way to save this natural asset in Saanich. We are environmental stewards. Given our stewardship role at Maltby Lake, and our aspirations to establish a natural preserve or park, Woody and I support a bylaw that protects natural habitat and biodiversity. But conservation becomes a big task when practice is to attach a dollar value on land regardless of its ecological, social, or heritage values. It appears everything must have a price tag. Even precious, irreplaceable properties like Maltby Lake, whose natural values in the bigger scheme of things is priceless. Once it is gone forever. It cannot be replaced. From what I just said, one might surmise Maltby Lake is a developer's dream, perhaps. But it is also a biologist's dream, a classroom, and a conservation success story in our municipality. It should be celebrated. To quote Richard Hebda, conservation is the first and best restoration. Yet I am encouraged by jurisdictions like Gibson's, BC, who became the first municipality to consider nature as an asset and give it the same consideration as traditional capital assets. Nature, for the first time, it has its own distinct asset value. I would like to see that investigated further for Saanich. My husband and I have been on a lifelong journey with Maltby Lake. The learning curve has been steep, and there is new territory and new information at every turn. I jumped to October 2015, when a young director of the Friends of Maltby Lake Watershed Society and I attended a HAT and CRD-sponsored Conservation Connection event. At this event, we learned we live in the imperiled coastal Douglas Fir Zone, where more than 90% of the land is privately owned, and every ecosystem is at risk. And we learned that less than 5% of the sensitive ecosystems in this area are currently protected. We learned that today conservation is an important public-private partnership. No one can do it alone. We need to work together. It should be easier for landowners like us to partner with Saanich. I am remembering the statement from Saanich's ESA report. Maltby Lake contains sensitive Douglas fir, Gary oak, Pacific yew, and arbutus woodland and clusters of bylaw protected trees. Most are considered by the province to be endangered or threatened. Therefore, how can I not support the general premise of bylaws like the EDPA? I hope the EDPA can be enhanced and work for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Grandma. Okay, I would like to invite number 26 to speak. And if I could have number 30 down on deck, please.
My name is Valerie Haig-Brown, but I've been asked to read a submission from Susan Haddon of 3515 James Heights. Dear Mayor and Council, I'm sorry I'm unable to attend this evening's meeting to speak in person. I first want to congratulate and thank you, Saanich staff and elected officials, for the foresight you've shown over the past several decades in creating this beautiful community we call home. As pressures of urbanization have increased, Saanich has shown visionary leadership, creating parks, preserving natural areas, and putting in place policies and bylaws that reflect community values, including environmental sustainability. We bought our house shortly after moving to Victoria in 2000 and chose it because it bordered a Gary Oak meadow on one side of Cedar Hill Park. The back garden is completely within an ESA buffer zone, and we see this as a valuable asset. According to Chris Woods, what's left of Vancouver Island's Gary Oak woodland is now a last stop for scores of species. The Gary Oak ecosystem is hanging on in shreds amidst Vancouver Island farms and housing developments. Propertius dusky-winged butterfly, the montane yellow violet, the sharp-tailed snake, the blue-gray tail dropper slug, and the horned lark that live in these meadows are all now on Canada's red or blue list of most threatened or next most threatened species. The EDPA bylaw reflects the values developed with extensive community input in our most recent official community plan. To quote from the OCP, Saanach's natural setting is characterized by marine shoreline, numerous freshwater lakes, streams and creeks, undulating topography, abundant natural vegetation, and varied wildlife. Much of the municipality's natural setting is adjacent or part of built-up areas where natural systems have been altered. The challenge now and in the future will be to continuously restore and protect the natural environment, minimize the impacts of the built environment, and manage the effects of climate change to ensure a similar or better quality of life for future generations. The OCP goes on to state, Saanich and its residents are considered to be leaders in the region in preserving and protecting the natural environment. The preservation and enhancement of our natural heritage was founded and depends on raising public awareness, gaining support, and encouraging citizens, businesses, and institutions to conserve natural resources and restore the natural environment for the well-being of future generations. If the EDPA bylaw is simply repealed without review and consultation, we lose the time, cost, and effort invested and the progress made to date. Without a careful examination of the existing bylaw, we will be destined to repeat the same errors in the future. I urge you to continue to act to protect what remains of our diminishing natural ecosystems. I respectfully recommend we retain the EDPA bylaw and the protection it provides, while undertaking a careful, impartial review to resolve lingering and potential issues. Our environment, our children, grandchildren, and all other species that inhabit this beautiful corner of Vancouver Island are relying on you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so inviting number 27. Yeah, we need to get sorted. Is there a 27? Okay, a 28. Yes, I'm just going to get our numbers sorted here. Oh, sorry, no, you can't have double the time. That'd be nice, though, wouldn't it? So, so there's no 27, no 28. Well, good, we're moving through, and you are? Okay, good. So, and what about 30? I asked last time for 30 to come down on deck. Nope. Okay, then can I please have 31, 32, 33, 34 on deck. 31 through 34 on deck. And please go ahead, sir.
Oh, I haven't started. Thank you. Ted Lee, 1513 Cedar Glen Road. Mayor Atwell and councillors. I'm representing Saanich Citizens for a Responsible EDPA Society with a proposal to improve biodiversity in Saanich. This is our proposal, that the EDPA should be temporarily removed from individual private properties until scientific justification and inventory confirms the need for the EDPA to be applied to any individual property. This would remove the EDPA atlas from the bylaw. A revised version of the EDPA bylaw should remain temporarily, but only to apply to subdivision development. Rules of the bylaw should be carefully followed. That an independent scientific advisory committee should be created that reports directly to council. Their mandate would be to assess and ensure scientific best practices in relationship to protecting and enhancing biodiversity, including urban forests, and assessing all tools to conserve biodiversity, including voluntary action, stewardship, education, incentives, compensation, and where needed, a revised EDPA bylaw. Members of the Scientific Advisory Committee should be mutually agreed to by landowners represented by our group and new knowledgeable members of the conservation community, and then approved by council. I have started discussions with Al Furch of Saanich Action for the Environment, SAFE. I believe that he and I and other cooperative individuals from ours and other groups can help find a mutually agreeable direction forward that most landowners and members of the conservation community can embrace. Many statements from the SAFE website seem to agree to a common direction forward with what we are proposing. The final item that our group strongly supports is the District of Saanich should provide significant funding for the maintenance and restoration of biodiversity in Saanich parks and other municipal lands. The District of Saanich should be leading by example on our public lands. Garry Oak ecosystems in Saanich parks need significant help as they're becoming very degraded, especially due to invasive grass species. Incredible volunteers remove invasive shrubs, but no one is dealing with invasive grasses in parks except at Playfair Park. Here is why the EDPA bylaw and EDPA atlas should be removed from individual properties. Saanich Council has just reconfirmed David Suzuki's Blue Dot program, which states to ensure equitable distribution of environmental benefits and burdens within the municipality. Until methods exist for sharing the burdens of the EDPA, individual property restrictions are inappropriate. Many of the properties in the EDPA are based on unconfirmed or erroneous mapping. Until environmentally significant areas are confirmed on properties, they should not have EDPA restrictions. No other municipality protects lawn and gardens under Garry Oak trees as an environmentally significant area, not one. There are thousands more properties that are not in the EDPA that have exactly the same environmental traits as many properties that are in the EDPA, especially in the case of areas of lawns and gardens under Garry Oak trees. Thousands more not in the EDPA. This is not a fair situation. None of these properties should be in the EDPA. These properties are all covered by the tree protection bylaw.
You're at 1 minute.
Landowners need to be a part of the biodiversity solution. With the EDPA, they were mostly ignored, as most didn't even know they were in the EDPA, nor what ecological value they had on their properties. Our group believes that there is a much better way forward which will improve biodiversity in Saanich. The next speaker will outline the proposal. We look forward to working with cooperative individuals from SAFE and other conservation groups to move this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Inviting number 29. And if I could have 35 come join us down here on deck, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Laura Lee. I live at 1513 Cedar Glen Road. The following is the proposal from Saanich citizens for a responsible EDPA society. We are proposing a program that focuses on all landowners in Saanich, not just those presently in the EDPA. The program is based on a very successful stewardship program in the USA. The vision: maintain and improve biological diversity in the District of Saanich by encouraging cooperative landowner actions. The goals: to develop a landowner stewardship program that is based on best science and that works with landowners in a cooperative manner to maintain and enhance biodiversity in Saanich. To encourage the general populace of the District of Saanich to understand and improve biological diversity in the district by means of education, outreach, incentives, and other stewardship mechanisms. To provide workshops on how and why to plant native trees and other species. To develop a foundation of understanding across a large number of people in Saanich. Issues to be addressed: develop a voluntary landowner-centric program to bring awareness to the following: loss of biodiversity, species at risk, ecosystems at risk, natural ecosystems. Degraded ecosystems caused by agriculture, urban-suburban development, and invasive species.
protection of marine and shoreline natural features, loss of urban forest, concern for future forests, viability for both species and ecosystems at risk, need for measurable success, climate change implications for natural communities, clearly identify areas of highest biodiversity to ensure they attract the appropriate resources and attention, maintain existing areas of highest biodiversity in Saanich. The following benefits will be provided to the environment and to Saanich residents now and in the future. Improved ecosystem services, resident buy-in, proactive landowner involvement towards improving the natural environment, increased